Hello everyone. This is a visual guide for Final Fantasy XIV patch 6.51 Disciples of Land, or Gatherer, relic tools. Similar to my first two videos, I will cover Miner and Botanist first as they are identical in steps. Then I will cover Fisher's Relic. I will leave timestamps below for ease of navigation. I'm Creely, let's get started. I'm going to show you my gear and melds that I will be using for the majority of this video. There will be a link to the gear plannering site I used in the description. The items required for these quests also require the use of the relic tool itself, so ignore the main hand tool. The food I like to use for collectibles is the Jinga curry. For these quests, I did a test with the item level 620 purple script gear, completely unmelded and with no food. The items sit at 100% gather rate. Not all node characteristics were activated, but you don't really need them to complete the quest. In short, unmelded, no food, purple script gear can do these quests. Side note, the high quality Crafter's Indicator set has the same stats as the script gear, so an unmelded indicator set will do just fine. If you do want to hit the breakpoints in these nodes, either follow my pentameld set or just hit these stats. Perception 3820, GP 920, Gathering 3610. The first thing you need to do is accept and complete the intro quest offered by Grenalt. The name of the quest is Dance Like Moen is Watching. This is just a couple of cutscenes. As usual, Cora Zoe offers the actual enhancement quests. Starting with the 5th enhancement quest, called A Tool for the Ages. As before, these quests are the same for all Disciples of Hand and Land classes. The only difference is the required items and how you obtain them. This quest requires us to obtain 220 inspirational components and 220 inspirational clusters. The clusters can be gathered outright, however they are hidden and are not always in the node. The components, on the other hand, need to be ethereally reduced from Connoisseur's collectibles. You may also turn the collectibles into Quinana at the crystalline mean. However, I strongly recommend using Aetherial reduction. More on that later. The collectibles for Miner and Botanist are Connoisseur's Asphaltum for Miner and Connoisseur's Giant Hive Chip for Botanist. This time around, the value for the 1000 collectability rating from Quinana is only 2 inspirational components. Anything less is 1 component. That said, it's worth it to hand them all into her. That is, if you are turning them in. The Connoisseur's items and clusters are both found in the same nodes for their respective classes. For Miner, they are found in Ilmeg at X12Y11. The closest Aetherite is Pla Ne. For Botanist, they are found in the Rocktika Greatwood at X16Y35. The closest Aetherite is Slitherbough. A little tip, once you accept the quest for one of the gatherers, you can progress the other two as long as you have the same level of tool for them. The items just require the tool, not the quest. Basically, you can gather all the components and clusters for all the gatherers and hand the quests in back to back. My strategy for gathering both items effectively is the same as before. I use the age-old collectible rotation on the collectibles. The collectible rotation is the same as it always has been. It goes Scrutiny, Meticulous Woodsman or Prospector, Scrutiny, Meticulous, Scour, or if it will reach 1000 collectability, another Meticulous to try and save a gathering attempt. Ageless Words or Solid Reason, if proc, Wise to the World, and then collect. This rotation will ensure you get some 1000 collectability items. Side note real fast, with my stats and food I showed, I would sometimes only reach 998 collectability with this rotation. Be aware of that. It was not that often. I usually got inspiration procs. This is before I changed my gear melds. Even though that is the rotation and the goal is always to get 1000 collectability, if you are ethereally reducing the items, which you should be, it is worth it to reduce any and all collectibles you get at 570 or more. I said I strongly recommend using Aetherial reduction earlier. This is because with 1000 collectability on an item, you get 3 components, which is 1 more than the 2 you would get from Quinana. You also have a chance to bonus your yield. This will double the amount of items you get from the reduction. Anything under 1000 but over 570 yields 1 component, which is the same as Quinana. This also saves time as you won't have to travel back to the Crystarium to turn in your items. For the clusters, because they are hidden, I simply gather them when they appear. I personally don't use GP on the clusters until after I have all the components. If there are no clusters and you are low on GP or don't have enough GP to complete the rotation, just use Meticulous on the collectibles. As I stated, you can still get components from reducing items under 1000 collectability. If you get to 220 components before you reach 220 clusters, you can start using GP to force the clusters out. Luck of the Pioneer or Mountaineer costs 200 GP and will force the hidden items into the node. One last thing I want to note here, Endwalker, I came across this gathering characteristic that requires 3,610 gathering to activate. It increases collectability. Even though you only need 3,610, it actually scales with your gathering. I tried it out with both my Indicator set and the unmelded Script gear. It's active for both sets. The pentamelded set is double the effectiveness on this particular characteristic. I even tried it with just using Meticulous, and it is actually kind of goated. If you are low on GP and this characteristic shows up, chances are you're going to get a 1000 rating. I figured this deserved a mention. Once you have all your clusters and components, unequip your tool and hand in the quest. The final upgrade quest is immediately available from Cora Zoe. The name of this quest is Stand Tool, my friend. This quest requires the same amount of Night Forged components and Night Forged clusters, and acts the exact same as the previous quest. The clusters and Connoisseur's items are Connoisseur's Glim Shroom and Night Forged Water Cluster for Botanist, Connoisseur's Raw Onyx, and Night Forged Ice Cluster for Miner. The Connoisseur's items and clusters are both found in the same nodes of their respective classes. This time around, both Botanist and Miner's nodes are in the exact same zone, the Tempest. Miners are around X24Y22. Botanists are around X37Y13. Both sets of nodes are just outside the Aetherite, the Ondo Cups. The strategy is still the same, the collectible rotation is still the same, I still collect clusters as they appear, and I still use Aetherial Reduction to obtain components. The thing I most want to go over is the new characteristic I came across in these nodes. This one requires 3,820 perception. It increases the effectiveness of Collector's Intuition by 100%. I believe it scales with perception. When I had the unmelded Script gear on, it was inactive and showed 50% increase. From what I experienced, it was sort of the same as the other characteristic that increases collectability. On that note, that other characteristic that increases collectability was present in these nodes as well, and had the same required 3,610 gathering. I thought it was wise to gather the Connoisseur's items over the clusters when these characteristics appeared, seeing as how goated they are, but that made me outpace the clusters 3-to-1, so yeah, still prioritize the clusters when they appear. Once you have all 210 components and 210 clusters, unequip your tool, return to Cora Zoe, and hand in the quest. Allow me to be the first to congratulate you on completing the Miner and/or Botanist Relic tool for Endwalker. Before we move on to the Fisher Relic, if you are enjoying this video, please give it a like, share this video with your fellow gatherers, and consider subscribing to my channel. My current goal is to reach 500 subscribers. After that, 1 million subscribers. Okay, now for the Fisher Relic. The quests are the same, just we're fishing now. My gear and food are the same as what I showed earlier. I did the same item level 620 unmelded Script gear test as well. Spoiler, it worked. The bait we will need is the same as the other quests. Select Bait Ball. Purchased from Quinana in the White Gatherer Script Exchange under the Others tab. I suggest about 300. I myself started with 300 and had 120 left over when all was said and done. Starting with the 5th enhancement quest, A Tool for the Ages, this quest requires us to obtain 170 inspirational Fisher's components. If we talk to Quinana, she will show us what fish will yield this item for us. And if we read the description of these fish, we can find out where to cast our line. The first fish, Deadwood Shadow, it reads, named for its resemblance to the sunken wood of the Great Woods Lakes, this carnivorous denizen of Mule's Tears, yada yada yada. So the Great Woods Lakes, specifically Mule's Tears, sounds like the Rocktika Greatwood. The second fish, Ronkin Bullion, is basically in the name. It reads, due to its gilded scales and massive girth, this inhabitant of Mule's Tears, and there it is. Both fish are in the same fishing hole. The fishing hole is situated southeast of Slitherbow. On the map, you will see Mule's Regret. You will want to fish off the cliff facing southeast. The Deadwood Shadow is a double exclamation mark hook that has a timer of 10 seconds. If you see a double exclamation mark hook before the 10 seconds, that's it. Anything after 10 seconds is not it. At a collectability of 501 to 1176, you will get one component, either from trade or Aetherial Reduction. At 1177 plus, you get 2 from trade or 2 from Aetherial Reduction with the possibility of bonus. The Ronkin Bullion, I had to look up. I hadn't seen one and was starting to wonder. So I googled it and found what I was looking for on the lodestone. A player by the name of Ice Dragon commented on the item saying, if you see a single exclamation mark hook before the 5 seconds, use precision hook set and then mooch to get the Ronkin Bullion. This single exclamation mark is a golding, which we mooch to catch the Ronkin Bullion. They also have a macro that has an interesting thing I never thought of, it's exclamation marks in parentheses to show what type of hook you were looking for. Handy, I added it to my macros. The collectability rating for the Ronkin is the same as the Deadwood. The Ronkin, however, gives you 3 instead of 1, and 4 instead of 2, and a possible bonus of 8. I never got a bonus on the Ronkin, so let me know in the comments if you got a bonus reduction from the Ronkin. The strategy is to use Patience 2, a cast macro with a 5-second timer for the Golding, and 10 total seconds timer for the Deadwood Shadow. The macro I made is on screen. If you get a single exclamation mark hook before the 5 seconds chime, it's a Golding. A single exclamation mark hook after the 5-second chime is not a Golding, so let it go. Use Mooch to catch the Ronkin Bullion. When you catch a Deadwood, use Identical Cast to catch another. In my experience, any and all fish after the 10 seconds are not your quarry, so reel in and cast again. I did the unmelded script gear with no food, and I was able to catch 1200 plus Deadwoods and Mooch for a 1200 plus Ronkin, so totally doable with no melds or food. One last thing, I'll have the clip shown now. I caught a Golding at 8.6 ilms. I used Mooch to catch the Ronkin. Now watch this. I caught a freaking Deadwood on a Mooch. So, yeah, let me know if this happens to you, because this was BS in my opinion. Once you have all 170 components, unequip your tool and hand in the quest. The final quest for Fishers, Stand Tool, my friend, is immediately available from Cora Zoe. This quest requires us to obtain 170 Nightforged components. The components can be obtained from Quinana by trading the fish Little Bounty or St. Fatheric's Face. The location of the fish are in the description of the fish. First, Little Bounty. It reads, the Crystal Exarch once remarked that this wavekin of St. Fatheric's temple resembled the seas of his faraway homeland. It has St. Fatheric's in it, which is in the name of the other fish. This tells me both are in the same fishing hole like the previous quest. The second fish, St. Fatheric's Face, reads, this hulking creature's unnaturally sturdy head and stubborn nature won it the namesake of a famed Vobertite saint. Vobert is located in Ilmeg. On the map, we can see a location named St. Fatheric's Temple, northeast of the Aetherial Alita. This is where the fishing hole is. You can fish in either stream. The strategy is to use Patience 2 and catch as many as we can. Little Bounty is a single exclamation mark hook with a timer of 8 seconds. Once you catch one, use Identical Cast to catch another. If you want to save GP and keep a near constant rolling Patience 2, don't use Identical Cast. Nothing else hooks in the 8-second timer. Once you hear the macro chime, reel in and cast again. There is a gray skipper that may hook right at the end of the macro, but otherwise it's just you and the Little Bounties out here. At a collectability of 9 to 20, you will get 1 component from either Quinana or Aetherial Reduction. At 21 plus, you will get 2 from Quinana or 2 from Aetherial Reduction with the potential to get a bonus of 4. St. Fatheric's Face is a double exclamation mark hook with the same timer. The Fatheric's Face will only show up after you catch a few Little Bounties. It was every 3rd bounty I'd get the buff. You will hear a heartbeat and a message will show on screen saying a glimmering jade figure drifts beneath the waters. You will get a buff called Fisher's Intuition. You have 3 minutes. It is at this point you can catch the St. Fatheric's Face. It is not a guaranteed hook, but it eventually snags your line. You cannot use Identical Cast on the Fatheric's Face as the buff fades once you catch one. Once the buff fades, catch 3 more Little Bounties and you will get the buff again. At a collectability of 384 to 901, you will get 3 components from either Quinana or Aetherial Reduction. At 902, you will get 4 components from Quinana or 4 components from Aetherial Reduction with a potential for a bonus of 8. I can confirm this time it can bonus. Once you have all 170 Nightforged components, unequip your tool and hand in the quest. Once again, allow me to congratulate you on finishing the Endwalker Fisher Relic tool. Now that we have all three tools complete, let's compare them to the penta-melded Indigators tools. My melds for the main hand tool was exactly the same for all three of my gathering classes, so we will only need to look at a screenshot of one of them. At a glance, we can see that the vitality is higher, the GP is higher by 1, the perception is higher by 41, but the gathering is lower by 6. 6 gathering is nothing to worry about. The tool is better as it is, but I am a perfectionist and I went ahead and changed 2 of my melds. My gloves, I took out the last meld of perception 14 and added a gathering 14. My necklace, I had to take out both my GP melds and the perception 14 meld to add a gathering 14 meld. I then had to add back in the GP melds. This evened out the stats for my new relics and overall increased gathering, perception, and GP. If you followed the gear planner link I put in the description, then you won't have to change anything. Those melds are the new melds I made once I got the final relics for Botanist and Miner. If you followed that planner from the previous guide, then like I said, 6 gathering is nothing to really worry about. In terms of aesthetics, I wish Botanist kept the stone axe look. The tools all look great though, far better than the dragoon tools we got from the Skysteel tools quests. What do you guys think? Are these tools what you thought they would be? Do you think they are better or worse than the dragoon-esque tools we got previously? Well everyone, that concludes my guides for the Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker Splendorous Relic tools for Disciples of Land. These guides were a lot of fun to make. I was really driven to make them, knowing that players were watching them, and the comments I got from all of you really helped push me to focus everything into these guides. I'm very happy with the way this turned out, so thank you. I'll have to find another project for my channel. I hope it is as rewarding as this has been. Thank you for taking the time to watch my guide. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Share this with a friend. Consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this one. And as always, have a safe journey.